Hi everyone, this is Simply English, so it's Monday, you're back for one more class. It's your chance to learn English and to get better at it. I'll start by introducing my guest today. So, hi Andrea and hi Vladimir.
Hi.
Hi.
Lovely to see you again. Andrea, you were here with us last week, so let me remind everyone what we discussed last week. First of all, we started by practicing vocabulary. That was related to birthdays, parties, and celebrations. And we moved on to read bits of information about birthday celebrations around the world. That was very enriching. We also practiced grammar. Actually, we got the chance to introduce the present perfect simple by explaining how it is formed. There wasn't much time for practice, so today we're going to make up for that. To begin with, let me remind you how we form the present perfect simple. First of all, we need to use a subject. If the subject is I, you, we, or they, the auxiliary that follows is have. If the subject is he, she, or it, then we need to use has. So, in the formation of the present perfect simple, we need first of all the auxiliary, have or has. The choice depends on the subject. The main verb will be used in the past participle form. Now let me remind you what that is. If we're talking about regular verbs, the past participle means adding ed to the verb. With irregular verbs, however, it means looking for the verb in that list of irregular verbs and selecting the third form. I hope you're ready to practice. Not before I remind you, however, how and when we use the present perfect. We have introduced this tense by saying that we generally use it whenever we talk about experiences up to now. The present perfect is a tense that includes past and present. If you remember, the speaker in the listening activity last week talked about his 21st birthday party, and he said, the best birthday party I've ever had was my 21st, and it's because he took into consideration his whole life experience. So, general experiences up to now means we'll use the present perfect. Here are some examples using the present perfect in the negative as well, the interrogative forms. He hasn't visited us so far. Have you ever traveled to Asia? Here's another use of the present perfect simple. Whenever we refer to actions that happened at some time in the recent past, but the time is not clearly specified. For instance, they have moved to the country. And another instance in which we use the present perfect simple would be actions that started in the past and they have continued up to the present. I've known Sam for 2 years. We use for, the preposition for, followed by the period of time that we make reference to. Or we can use the preposition since, which refers to the moment when the action started in the past. It continues up to the present. He has lived in London since 2012. And here's one more use, that would be past actions that have a clear result in the present. I've spilled my coffee. What a shame. You can see my coffee all over my dress. So, Andrea, Vladimir, back to you now for some practice. What I'd like us to do is to read out these sentences. There are verbs in brackets which we're going to use in their correct present perfect tense form. Andrea, will you read the first sentence, please? Your turn first, Andrea.
Red envelopes have been a common tradition in East Asian cultures for centuries.
Excellent. Envelopes is in the plural, so we need to use have. I'll write the answer here. Have been. Good. Remember, the preposition for shows the period of time that the action has been going on for. Your turn, Vladimir, please.
In Greece, people celebrate name days on the feast day of a saint they have been named after.
Very good. They again is plural, so we'll use have. The verb is be. The third form is been. This is an irregular verb. And speaking of name days, recently we've just celebrated a name day in our country. What was it?
It was Saint Nicholas.
St. Nicholas, yeah, we celebrate that on the 6th of December. And even further back, Andrea, it's your turn to tell us. It was your name day, wasn't it?
Yes, it was my name day.
Andrea, back to you for the third sentence, please.
By the time they are 16, many girls in the United States have attended a significant Sweet 16 party.
Good. Have attended. This is a regular verb. We add ed to it. Excellent. Vladimir?
Have you ever attended the coming of age party in Japan?
Good.
She has been to Vietnam once and she got the chance to stay with a family for a week.
Good. She will be followed by has. She has been. Excellent. Thank you. Now we're ready to move on. And by doing this matching exercise, on the left we either have half sentences or a sentence or maybe a question which we're going to match with the rest of the sentence or the short exchange. It's our way of introducing more examples using the present perfect simple. Vladimir, would you like to do the first one, please?
1. People in Greece and Eastern Europe, have always celebrated name days besides birthdays.
So I'll write E over here. Andrea?
Are they still doing exams? It's with D. No, they have finished.
Good. A question and its answer. Half a question, Vladimir.
Young adults in Japan who celebrate coming of age day, A, have reached the age of 20.
Andrea?
Has she still got her car, or B, has she sold it?
And the last one is...
Lisa hasn't called yet. C, is she still coming with us?
Good. And now we're going to practice a few time expressions that we generally use with the present perfect. All of these examples are words that we use with the present perfect simple. Andrea, your turn to read the first sentence, please.
I've already had 4 cups of coffee today. It's too much.
Okay, very good. Already. I have already done something, used in an affirmative sentence. Good. Vladimir?
So, have they come back from their holiday yet?
Very good. Yet is used only in negative sentences or maybe questions, as in this example. Just remember this. Already is used with affirmative sentences, yet is used with negative sentences or questions. Andrea?
This doesn't sound familiar at all. I've never heard of this band before.
Good. And remember that in English we only use negation once. So if you have a word like never, which is already negative, you're never going to use a negation with a verb. Vladimir?
My French has improved a lot recently.
Good. Andrea?
Sophie has just left.
Good. We want to refer to an action which happened in a very recent past, has just left. Remember, yet is used with negative sentences or questions. And the last one?
Molly hasn't visited us so far this month.
Good. So far, up until now, this month. All right. Here's a longer text. It's a blog entry. A person whose name is Andrew has written this on his blog, telling us about his experience of attending a party. As we read through the text, I'd like us to circle past tense simple forms and underline present perfect simple verb forms. It's important for us to notice in which context each of the two tenses are used. So I'm going to start by asking Andrea to read the first paragraph only and then tell me which verbs are in the past tense simple, in which case I'm going to circle them, and which verb forms are in the present perfect simple so I can underline them.
Hey there, everyone. I wanted to share an amazing experience I had recently. I've just attended a lively and heartwarming name day party right here in Romania, and I must say it's been truly unforgettable.
All right. Will you please tell me
I've
first?
had recently.
I've had recently. What's this? The past tense or the present perfect?
It's the present perfect.
All right. So I need to underline this. I've had. Good.
I've just attended.
Right.
And it's been.
It's been. Yeah. So this is part of the verb. It's been. Good. Is there any past tense simple form?
Yes. Wanted.
Wanted. So I'm going to circle this one. Good. And that would be
I
it.
think that's it.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. Vladimir, it's your turn. Read the next paragraph, please.
Okay. My friend Maria invited me to celebrate her name day with her family, and I couldn't have been more excited. I've heard so much about these celebrations, and now I finally got to experience one myself. The present perfect simple forms would be have been in the first sentence, have heard, and yeah, that's it.
Do you mean this one? I couldn't have been more excited?
Yeah. That one.
Pay attention to the fact that couldn't is a modal verb. After a modal verb, we always use an infinitive form, and this is the perfect infinitive. I wouldn't qualify this as the present perfect, but you're quite right about the next one. I've heard, so I'm going to underline this one. Is there any past tense form?
Invited.
Invited, good. So I'm going to circle this one and
Got.
got. Good. Thank you. Andrea, back to you.
As soon as I arrived at Maria's home, I was welcomed with open arms by her relatives and friends. Throughout the party, I've had the opportunity to taste some delicious traditional dishes. Sarmale and bămădică were my favorites. I've also chatted with some of the guests and learned more about the significance of name day celebrations in Romania. I've had the chance to give Maria a thoughtful gift to mark this special occasion.
Which ones would you like to start with? The past tense or the present perfect forms?
Let's start with the past tense because there are a lot of verbs.
All right.
Arrived.
Mm-hmm.
Was welcomed.
Very good.
Learned.
Yes, learned more.
And I think that's it.
Okay. We'll move on with present perfect forms.
I've had the opportunity.
Good.
I've also chatted.
Mm-hmm.
I've even had the chance.
Right. And there's just one sentence, actually 2 sentences left for you, Vladimir. Please read them.
So here's to embracing new experiences, making lasting memories, and celebrating life's little joys. Until next time, yours, Andrew.
All right, thank you. No verb forms here. He's just saying goodbye in this blog entry. Thank you so much. The purpose of this exercise was to introduce contexts in which we use past simple or present perfect. Making the choice between the two of them can be tricky sometimes. So let's take a look at the rules. I'm going to explain the rules. They go hand in hand. We use the past simple for a past action which happened at a definite time in the past. That's why we generally need to use word time expressions like yesterday or last month or 2 years ago, when I was a child, to make it quite obvious that this event is anchored in the past only. For instance, I moved to China when I was 4. However, if we refer to a past action, but the time is not specified or not clearly specified, we need to use the present perfect. He has left the office and will be back later. We don't know exactly when this happened. It's obviously a recent past. But because the time is not specified, we need to use the present perfect. Another difference between the two tenses would be that the past simple describes an action which happened and finished in the past. My family and I lived in Sweden for 2 years when I was a baby. However, the present perfect shows that the action is still connected to the present. He has taught literature at university for 20 years now. So you see the relevance in the present now. That's why we need to use the present perfect in this case. The action still goes on in the present. And one more distinction between the two of them. An action which happened in the past and cannot be repeated should be expressed by using the past simple. When we talk about a sports person like Nadia Comaneci, we know she's no longer in action. We need to use the past tense when it comes to her achievements in the sport. So Nadia Comaneci got her first 10 in Montreal in 1976. However, if we're talking about somebody who is still active as a sports person, and I've just given this example of sports people, but it could be about actors, singers, and so on, writers. So if we are to talk about David Popovic, we can say, for instance, he has broken several world records so far, meaning he can still do it. He's still a sports person. Now, this is your chance to practice. If you're watching this in replay, please pause the video. Take your time to do the exercise on your own. Don't get influenced by us and the answers we give. Then, of course, you'll get the chance to see whether you are right or not. In saying so, I'm going to ask Andreea, Vladimir, to scan the text to understand the context. It's about somebody who talks about attending a birthday party. We need to use the verbs in brackets either in the past tense or the present perfect tense. But don't worry, this is going to be your homework. So as you scan through, you'll get the chance to each read one sentence. We'll take turns. It's going to be easier this way. Shall we start with Vladimir this time? Yes, please do.
Last weekend, I had the pleasure of attending a birthday party that was unlike any other I have experienced so far.
All right, which were the words that helped you identify the tenses to use?
So I thought about the present perfect tense, where I saw words such as so far at the end of the sentence.
Excellent, because they are very indefinite when it comes to time. Right, whereas a word like last weekend tells you for sure that you need a past tense. So that's why you use had. All right. Andreea, will you go on with the next one?
Of course, the atmosphere was filled with excitement and anticipation. The highlight of the party was the grand feast that took place.
Good, thank you. Vladimir, back to you.
The table overflowed with a variety of mouth-watering dishes. Throughout the evening, we enjoyed traditional music and dance performances that captured the essence of Asian culture.
All right, Andreea.
As the clock had stricken midnight, the party came to an end.
All right, the verb in brackets was strike, and this is an irregular verb. As the clock...
Oh, stroke.
Struck, no. Struck, right? Stroke is the
okay.
noun. Strike, struck, struck. Thunderstruck, maybe that reminds you of the form. So as the clock struck midnight, the party came to an end. Yes, you're quite right. And the rest of the text goes to Vladimir.
Attending this birthday party was a privilege that allowed me to immerse myself in the beauty and richness of Asian culture as I haven't had the chance even to this day.
Excellent. All right, thank you so much. So my advice to you when you deal with such exercises is to scan first of all the text to understand what it is about. And then maybe you can underline or you can circle those time expressions that will tell you for sure which tense you need to use. With words like last or any combination with last summer, last weekend, or combinations with ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, you will need to use the past simple, which we also use for those things that only happen and are finished in the past. They're no longer connected with the present. However, in the other situations with words like so far, before, already, to this day, you're going to use the present perfect. Time for us to stop here for today. Thank you so much for joining me again. Andreea, Vladimir, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I know it can be quite challenging to learn when to use the past simple or the present perfect. Please watch this again for the explanations, and remember, practice makes perfect. Until next time, goodbye.